This video contains an excerpt from my book titled Divorce, because letting go does not mean giving up. And I'm passionate about working with men and women who are going through the 3 stages of divorce: thinking about it, going through it, and putting it behind you. Because divorce has a way to really bring down our levels of self-esteem, self-confidence, self-love, self-worth, and self-image. Depending on where you are in the divorce, whether it was your idea, your spouse's idea, maybe you came to this amicably, divorce is a loss. It's a huge loss. And there are times when we're going through divorce when things can seem so surreal. Life can just feel like it's unfolding in a way that you don't even recognize as your life. But whenever that happens, we get fearful because no one wants to feel like they're losing a grip on the only thing that they knew that made sense. And when that happens, we look for other people to blame. We blame our spouse, ex-spouse, children, family, boss. We blame everything external. But the truth is, everything is an inside job. And the work that I do with men and women on relationship coaching is about exactly that. If you're ready to experience what unconditional love truly means and stop blaming others for where you are in your life, for how divorce has affected you, or how divorce continues to wreak havoc with your finances, your relationships, your job. If we don't understand why we make the choices that we do, and that every choice we make is based on a belief, if we don't get to that part, then we will keep making the same choices over and over and over again. We'll keep attracting the same type of person into our life. I'm sure you've heard many times where someone says, I got divorced and then I got remarried and my second wife's just like my first wife, or my second husband is just like my first husband. And they don't understand the reason that they keep attracting this type of relationship into their life is because they haven't yet learned to let go of those beliefs, feelings, and emotions. And those are the reasons that we attract certain people into our lives. My Mastering Your Beliefs program can show you why you attract the people that you do into your life, why your levels of self-esteem, self-image, self-love, self-worth, and self-confidence can be at an all-time low. I'll teach you how to check these 5 levels of self. And you can get so good at it that every single time something triggers you, if you quickly go through these 5 levels of self, you'll instantly recognize why this is triggering you and how to diffuse it, how to let go. Because that's what this is about. It's not about resisting. It's never about not thinking about it. It's never about thinking, I just don't want to deal with this right now. It's always about getting to a position where you can let go. So remember, the reason that you are attracting the type of people into your relationships is because of past relationships, past feelings, beliefs, and memories. And these are familiar to us. So even though it seems like something we don't want to do, it's kind of a push me, pull me in our mind, because one part of our mind is saying, this is what feels normal, but yet another part of our mind is saying, but I don't like that. I don't want that. And so until you're able to let go of what no longer serves you, you'll continue to attract the same type of person, the same type of relationship, the same type of people into your life. You deserve to let go. You deserve to see what life can be like lived unconditionally, and why strength yielding to strength is so much more valuable than one person trying to get another person to see their point of view. Enjoy the excerpt in this book, and if you have any questions, again, follow the link, get on my calendar, let me know how I might serve and support you through all 3 stages of divorce. In the meantime, if you're challenged with maybe some frustrations or feelings and emotions, and you right now at this moment are feeling like you just don't know where to turn and you don't even know if this is right for you, here are 3 questions that you can ask yourself that's very, very helpful. The first question is, what feeling or belief can I let go of right now? The second question being, what feeling or belief will I let go of right now? And the third question, what feeling or belief do I need to hold on to for just a little bit longer? Because sometimes, even though we're in something that we really drastically would like to get out of, the thought of stepping out of what we know can be so fearful or so uncomfortable that we just have to stay where we are until we can somehow shift our mindset and step out of where we are to where we want to be. Enjoy the excerpt, and please let me know how I might serve you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Muller. In 2017, I published my third book titled Divorce, because letting go does not mean giving up. And when I published the book, it was primarily written for women because at that time, my coaching was mostly geared for women clients. I was working with mostly women. I had a few men that I was working with, but over the years, as is with any type of inner work, when you keep doing the inner work, when you keep peeling back the layers and asking yourself those questions, those really important questions, when you feel like you're still struggling in your life or struggling in relationships, or you find the same type of relationships keep showing up in your life, when you're willing to do that type of inner work and look within, you'll start to realize certain habits and patterns. And you'll realize that those are the habits and patterns that maybe sabotage past relationships. And if you haven't learned to look at them, why they're continuing to sabotage current relationships or show up in your current relationships. Now, after publishing this book and continuing to do my inner work, my coaching also opened up to male clients. So now I work with both men and women around relationships. And a lot of it is through the 3 stages of divorce, thinking about it, going through it, and putting it behind you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be marriage oriented to work with me, because relationships, whether you've gotten married, whether you continue to attract the same type of man or woman into your life, whether you keep thinking, I don't understand it. There are no good men out there. There are no good women out there. They're all the same. Well, that's because we have these habits and these patterns that we continue to cycle over and over, or recycle over and over. And it's not until we actually understand why we keep attracting those type of relationships into our life that we can finally let go. And when we learn to let go, it's such a much more peaceful state of mind. So I would like to take this moment and read an excerpt from my book. And this will give you a little bit of an insight about what the book is about. And as I said, it was written towards women, but this is definitely a book that helps both men and women, because there are a lot of exercises in the book that will help you start thinking about why you're attracting a certain type of relationship into your life. So if I may, I'm going to take this next minute here to read an excerpt from the book, and then I want to talk about it a little bit. So when my daughters started school, when they were in kindergarten, I volunteered in their classroom. We did homework together, and I thought I was giving them everything they needed, because I was giving them what I wanted when I was their age. Someone to pay attention to them, someone who would never scream at them, someone who would never hit them, and someone who was open to discussion about anything, any topic, and protect them and keep them safe. As I supplied all of these things for my daughters, I realized something was missing in my life. I don't think I understood it at the time, but the thing that was missing was my ability to take care of my own needs. As their questions and caregiving became more complex, it was up to me to grow my own mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional journey. I started reading books, taking classes, got a job, then got a better job, and I started to realize that I was capable of so much more than I ever thought I was. I became a student, competitor, and teacher in the martial arts. And my first business actually started in 1995. It was a business called WAVE, Women Against Violent Encounters, and I was teaching self-defense to women. Yes, I grew, but my husband did not. He did not have the same ambitions to do the inner work that I did. He would often tell me, When you want something, you just go after it. I could never do that. I would try to encourage him to figure out what he wanted so that I could help him go after what he wanted. But his belief in himself was very low. He didn't believe that he had what it took to do anything other than what he was doing at the time. Because for him, his belief in himself was measured by the amount of hours that he worked and the level of paycheck that he was able to bring home. It didn't take long for my husband to resent my accomplishments and use them against me and as an excuse as to why he couldn't go after what he wanted because he had too much work to do. He complained that he was nothing but a paycheck to our family, and I found myself wanting to continue with my own personal growth and also find a way to boost his morale and belief in himself. I found myself downplaying my accomplishments because I thought that if I were less than, that he would feel more than. I learned that all of this will never work. This will never work because for every person, we are each all individually responsible for our own personal growth. And every person is responsible for their choices. And it's up to us whether or not we work on our own personal growth or not. So as I continued to improve me and do the best to help him see that the opportunities that he wanted were readily available to him, just like they were me, I could see his resistance. I could sense it. Instead of him seizing his own opportunities for personal growth, he simply grew more resentful of mine. He'd always been moody and easy to anger, and over the years I had learned how to bring him out of it. There are things that a wife knows how to do when her husband is in a certain mood, as well as a man knows how to bring his wife out of it when she's in a certain mood. But the more I grew, the less interested I was in bringing him out of it, because I started to understand that for my own personal growth, I had to do the inner work on me to understand why I was having these moods or not feeling the best about myself. And I learned that this is something that only I could do for myself. So if he wasn't willing to do the inner work, I learned that I could not do it for him. I knew it was something he had to want to do for himself. I didn't want to go back to the way things were, and he just didn't want things to change. So that's the way that it continued in our marriage, and his anger continued to grow. During this time, an event happened that changed the course of my life. I was at work and my daughter called and she was crying. I started to panic and I asked her what was wrong. She was crying and she said, "Mama, Daddy is really mad and he started kicking me all the way across the living room. I don't know what to do and he hurt me." Physical abuse was not something that she had ever dealt with, and this was inexcusable. I talked very calmly to her and asked her to put her dad on the phone. When he got on the phone, I don't remember what I said, but I was so angry and upset. My beautiful daughter, that I vowed would never know physical violence, had just suffered physical abuse from her father, and I was not there to protect her. I knew I had to discuss what had happened with my husband and that he needed to deal with his anger. I had to know that I would never have to worry about that again and that he would never take his anger out on our daughters again. The discussion started like so many times before. He was angry, and I knew from his body language that he didn't want to talk about it. He never wanted to talk. He always just wanted the incident to go away. We needed to talk about what he did to our daughter, and I needed to know that it would never happen again. As I started talking, he was sitting on the edge of his bed with his back to me, and the more I tried to talk to him, the more agitated his body language became. Then he started pounding his fists on either side of him, as though the mattress was a drum, and he continued pounding on the mattress. Immediately, I sensed that this was a situation far worse than I had ever encountered before. I felt the urgency to diffuse the situation, so I decided to get up and walk away for a while so that he could have a chance to calm down until we could talk. As soon as I walked in front of him, he stood up, grabbed me by the shoulders, and physically threw me into a set of mirrored closet doors. I hit the doors with such force, I don't know how they didn't shatter into a million pieces. As the back of my head hit the mirrors, my immediate thought was, this can't be happening. He can't mean this. This is a mistake. And how can I help him? But when I landed on my feet and stood facing him, I saw fire in his eyes and spit coming out of his mouth. My self-defense kicked in. The instincts were strong within me. And I knew that I did not want to try to run out the bedroom door because I might make too much noise. And if he came after me, it would wake up our girls. That's when my resolve to stand my ground came into focus. I stepped into a defensive stance, held up my hand in a stop motion, and said, "Stop right there. If you come any closer, I'm prepared to send you flying out the window behind you." Suddenly, recognition returned to his face, and he was immediately sorry for what he had done. For me, he had gone past the point of no return. Now what? Looking back, I know that was the night my marriage ended, and yet it would take 13 more years of believing that I was doing the right thing by staying committed to my marriage. But my marriage finally did end in divorce after 32 years of marriage. Yes, he went to counseling, and yes, we were very fortunate that it did not go farther than it did. But counseling only works when you're committed to change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Now, I share this with you about this event that evening, but I can tell you that since the divorce and the many years since my divorce and working with many, many couples, men and women, we often tend to blame the other. The wife will say, "Oh, it's all because my husband won't do X, Y, and Z." The husband will say, "It's all because my wife doesn't understand me and she's not patient with me." And we always have these reasons why it's the other person's fault. And then when it finally does culminate in divorce, then we can't even be friends. We're fighting. We're fighting over property. We're fighting over the children. We're fighting over everything. We're fighting. And anyone who makes you angry owns a piece of you. And that's a fact. That's why I am so committed to working with people through the 3 stages of divorce, thinking about it, going through it, and putting it behind you. Because I believe that all 3 stages affect each other stage. Stage 1 will affect stage 2 and 3. Stage 2 will affect stage 1 and 3, and so on. However empowered or disempowered you are through any of the 3 stages of divorce will definitely affect how you feel about yourself and all levels of self. Self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, self-love, and self-image. So perhaps you might be going through one of the 3 stages of divorce, and you might be thinking about getting my book. And that would be great because this is a great starting point. But maybe you're farther than that. Maybe you'd like to work with someone. Maybe you'd like to know more about what exactly does it mean to be able to be empowered through all 3 stages of divorce. Please check out my website, read up on what I'm doing and the work that I'm offering. And if any of this speaks to you, please feel free to get on my calendar and let's have a talk. Let's find out how my Mastering Your Beliefs program can empower you through all 3 stages of divorce. In the meantime, this is Nancy Muller saying ciao for now.